here today to speak about selecting.
Today I presented a paper on melt filtration, trends in the industry, and what the developments are in the industry. Kind of like the highlights of the paper were the requirement that was a prevalent theme throughout this conference was the requirement for uniform melt pressure, uniform melt temperature, if you're going to make uniform products, and how important that is in your extrusion operation. And I also noted that we're seeing more of the scraper style machines in the industry, in web industries. And I would say that the other underlying theme of the conference was the new connectivity, or the Internet of Things, or the Industry 4.0, or however you want to classify it, but basically the data acquisition and what to do with the data analytics that are really becoming more and more commonplace every day in the extrusion industry.
One of the main things that I really try to talk about is in extrusion, trying to make it more of a science and try to remove the black art, trying to control the variables, because right now, still in extrusion, there's an awful lot of artsy operators that are, I guess it's job security, call it, but they try to hold in the knowledge of how to run the line. They're all doing things differently, and they're not controlling things like the water temperature, not controlling little things like the dye gap and the water flow going to the tank. There are numerous variables in the extrusion process that can be controlled that aren't, that make it an art. And so what I keep being a real proponent of is to try and make it that science and make it more like, make extrusion more like injection molding. So it's and that came across with my talk with Dan Saikana, with Steve Schick, people that have been involved in it. So trying to make it a science.
Our topics covered, I think the key is the problems associated in extrusion with conveying systems are often centered around fines, dust generation, angel hair, and so forth. There's a number of ways that can be generated, so there's a number of ways that customers can address that. Airspeed is important, conveying speed. The type of elbow you're using is important. I think the other takeaway was just in general, from a preventative maintenance standpoint, from an uptime perspective, that smart pumps are coming soon in January, and they will provide customers with advanced analytics, advanced information, not only on how to perform the maintenance and when to perform the maintenance, but ultimately if there are impending failures that need to be addressed.
But to me, the most important thing that I have to give to this industry and to this country and to this world, however people listen to me, is the conviction that plastics are not toxic, they are not dangerous, they do far more good for us and for our environment than harm. Not enough time in this interview to prove it. I had to say it and give a few little bits of proof this morning. In addition, yes, I talked about the melt index and how it was a soggy cookie, which means that it's better than nothing, and it's used a lot, but it needs to be properly understood to be used in processing. I talked about not calling screws polyethylene screws or vinyl screws, because the materials could be changed so much that a name like that would not fit the process. What else I say? Don't worry about power costs, because the power needed to run an extruder is a very small portion of manufacturing costs. Materials are the main cost, and anybody who does the accounting will know this.
The core of my presentation was about if people would examine their systems, they would find a lot of easy things to fix, and that would improve the energy consumption of their overall systems, which is basically fix leaks, fix filtering problems, which would improve the energy usage of their overall pumping systems, reduce the compressed air usage of their systems, saving them energy and reducing their energy costs.
Come to conferences to learn. I had one attendee on an elevator I reached out to him and I asked, has this been a worthwhile event for you? And he said to me, well, you know, if you learn something every day, and if you don't learn from the guys that you brought in to speak, then you're not going to learn. So that was a testament, I think, to the quality of the speakers that we had and the quality of their presentations. I mean, there's some folks who spoke at this event who have been in this industry for a long time and who have seen everything there is to see 3 or 4 times. So, and a lot of them were very willing to impart their technical knowledge and their advice on extrusion related problems, and I think that went over very well with the audience.